Have you ever felt that prickle on the back of your neck? That sudden, ice-cold certainty that you are being watched? I used to dismiss it, laugh it off as an overactive imagination. But now I know better. Now I know what it feels like to be prey. It all started on a Tuesday, one of those dreary, rain-soaked evenings where the city seems to sigh in exhaustion. I was walking home from work, taking my usual shortcut down a narrow back alley. It was a grimy little passage, wedged between a crumbling brick tenement and a row of shuttered storefronts, but it shaved a good 10 minutes off my commute. The air was thick with the smell of damp garbage and something else, something metallic and vaguely sweet that I could never quite place. That's when I first saw him. At the far end of the alley, a single bare bulb flickered over the back entrance of what used to be a butcher shop. The sign, Miller's Meats, was faded and peeling, but a dim light glowed from within. A large man stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the weak light. He was built like a side of beef himself, broad and imposing, wearing a stained white apron. Even from a distance, I could see the glint of something long and metallic in his hand, a cleaver. He was just standing there, motionless, watching the alley. I felt a shiver run down my spine, unrelated to the cold. I quickened my pace, my footsteps echoing unnaturally loud on the wet pavement. I kept my eyes fixed forward, but I could feel his gaze on my back, heavy and piercing, until I burst out onto the main street, gasping for breath under the comforting glow of the streetlights. I told myself it was nothing, just a guy cleaning up his shop. Maybe he was reopening. It was a rational explanation, but it didn't soothe the knot of anxiety that had tied itself in my stomach. The next evening, I hesitated before turning into the alley, but the thought of the longer walk in the drizzle pushed me forward, and there he was again. Same spot, same stained apron, same unnerving stillness. This time, as I passed, I dared a quick glance over my shoulder. He hadn't moved an inch, but I could have sworn his head was turned, tracking my progress. The cleaver in his hand seemed to gleam with a malevolent light of its own. This became our silent, nightly ritual. I'd walk, he'd watch. I never heard a sound from him, not a cough, not a footstep, just his oppressive, silent presence. The sweet, metallic smell seemed to be getting stronger, too, clinging to the air like a foul perfume. I started having nightmares, streams of endless, echoing corridors, the rhythmic, asterisk, thump thump thump, asterisk of a cleaver on a wooden block, and a hulking shadow that was always just behind me. A night, curiosity, or maybe some self-destructive impulse got the better of me. I decided I had to know what was in that shop. I walked past him as usual, my heart hammering against my ribs. Instead of continuing home, I ducked into a recessed doorway a little further down and waited. I crouched in the darkness, my breath held tight in my chest, listening. For a long time, there was nothing but the drip of water from a rusty downspout. Then I heard it. A dragging sound, heavy, wet, and punctuated by a soft, rhythmic scraping. Peeking around the edge of the doorway, my blood ran cold. The butcher was dragging a large, lumpy burlap sack from his shop, leaving a dark, glistening trail on the pavement. He heaved it toward a large metal dumpster at the end of the alley. With a grunt of effort that seemed to tear through the silence, he lifted the sack and tipped it over the edge, slammed it with a sickeningly soft thud. He didn't just walk back to his shop. He stood there for a moment by the dumpster and slowly turned his head. It was as if he could sense me, even hidden in the shadows. He looked directly at my hiding spot. I couldn't see his face clearly, just the dark voids where his eyes should be, but I felt his gaze lock onto mine. He raised a hand, not the one holding the cleaver, and slowly, deliberately beckoned me forward with a single crooked finger. Panic, pure and primal, seized me. I scrambled out of the doorway and ran. I didn't look back. I ran harder than I've ever run in my life, my lungs burning, my legs screaming in protest. I didn't stop until I was inside my apartment. The door bolted, the chain secured, every light in the place blazing. I never took that shortcut again. I took the long way around, adding 20 minutes to my commute, walking in the bright, busy streets, surrounded by people. I tried to forget what I saw. I tried to convince myself it was a sack of animal scraps, just old meat he was throwing away. But I couldn't forget the shape. It was too long, too human. A few weeks later, a news report caught my eye. A local man, someone who lived in my neighborhood, had been missing for a month. His picture flashed on the screen of Face ID, seen a dozen times on my way to the subway. The report said his last known location was somewhere near my route home from work. They had no leads. The police were baffled. I knew, in the deepest, darkest part of my soul, I knew where he went. I knew about the sweet, metallic smell, the dark trail on the pavement, and the sickeningly soft thud in the dumpster. The butcher shop is still there. The sign is even more faded now, okay? Sometimes, when I pass the entrance to that alley, I can feel a cold draft carrying that unforgettable scent. And I know he's in there, waiting, watching, the butcher in the back alley. And I wonder, whose turn is it next? I hope this story sent a chill down your spine. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe, and maybe take the long way home tonight. You never know who's watching.